Thursday, January 9th, regular meeting of the Novi Community School District Board of Education. We are glad that you are with us this evening. We are going to ask for a roll call vote for Mr. Mena. If you wouldn't mind.
Trustee Cook.
Here.
Trustee Hood.
Here.
Trustee Mena is here. Trustee Murphy.
Here.
Trustee Roney.
Here.
Trustee Ruskin.
Here.
Trustee Smith.
Here.
Thank you. If you would all please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next, we have the approval of our agenda for this evening. Can I have a motion?
I move that we approve tonight's agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Is there support?
Support.
It's been moved by Mr. Smith and supported by Mrs. Roney. All those in favor of approving the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Next, we have our student board member report. Thank you. You want to just kind of introduce yourself and tell us your position at the high school and all that kind of
Take
stuff?
a deep breath.
I went to the wrong building, I'm so sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
We'll be trying to keep this hidden.
You're here now. That's all that matters.
Sorry about that once again, but I'm Manis Peribuena. I'm a senior at Nova High School, and I'm currently the secretary of our student council of our grade.
Well, thank you for being here.
Thank you. And should I go on?
Yes, that's great.
So in terms of academics, the final exams for students will begin on Tuesday, January 21st. Sorry.
Looking forward to that?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, we've been preparing and we've had good teachers, so yeah.
That's a great answer.
That is a good answer. And student and teacher activities. First of all, congratulations to our DECA students who've competed in the DECA district competition at LTU in December. Out of the 173 students that competed, 81 students earned test medals, 75 students earned role play medals, and 130 students qualified to compete at the State Career Development Conference in March. The theater department traveled to Detroit to compete in the State Thespian Festival. In addition, these were awarded more than $200,000 worth of scholarships. Good wishes to the Novi Singers who are performing the national anthem at the Detroit Pistons game against the Cleveland Cavaliers tonight.
How fun.
When talking about athletics, first of all, good luck to the following boys and girls varsity basketball teams who are competing at Northville High School tomorrow night, the girls JV and varsity competitive cheer team who will be competing in an invitational at the Brighton High School this weekend. Also, good luck to the co-ed varsity bowling team competing at Brighton High School this weekend, and varsity wrestling team competing in an invitational this weekend at Garden City High School.
Wow.
Should I go on to the agenda?
You are welcome to follow the agenda with us. No, that's okay. We're super glad you're here. Really, hearing from our students is really one of the highlights every week because we know there's a lot of great things going on. So we're going to move on to the next item on our agenda. I'm just going to tell you, I know that with finals coming up, you do not have to stay the whole time for the meeting. So just so you know, I'm giving you permission.
You're not graded on
You're
your
not
attendance.
graded on your attendance tonight. So thank you for being here. Next, we move on to our National School Board Month resolution. Dr. Matthews.
Thing is, Murphy, before I read the resolution, I would like to read this for the board. January is National Hot Tea Month. Of course, January is also National Bath Safety Month, National Blood Donor Month, National Slow Cooking Month, National Mentoring Month, and National Sunday Supper Month. And importantly, January is also National Healthy Weight Awareness Month. Evidently, there's a lot to recognize in January. Not to be forgotten, January is also School Board Recognition Month, a time to salute the work of our volunteer school board members and to celebrate public education. Recognizing our Novi Community School District Board of Education members reflects our community's combined commitment to ensure that all children succeed. It's an exciting and challenging time in public education. The needs in our community and our nation remain great. The opportunities are boundless, but success requires an education. The members of our Board of Education recognize and are committed to ensuring that the students in our district receive an education that will prepare them to be successful today and tomorrow. The Novi Community School District provides services to children and young adults from birth through age 26. Our Novi Community School District Board of Education develops policies and makes tough decisions that help shape the future for the 6,700 students in our district. The Novi Community School District Board of Education bears responsibility for an annual budget of $80 million. Our capital projects bond approved in 2019, over 800 employees, 8 school buildings, and 3 support buildings. Our Board of Education and the hundreds like it across the state preserve the core of democracy, public education. They ensure that decisions on school programming reflect our community's values, culture, and circumstances. Showing appreciation for the important work of school boards should be a year-round process, but too often we neglect to recognize the dedication and hard work of these men and women who represent our community. This January, as befitting School Board Recognition Month, I would like to take a moment to thank our Novi Community School District Board of Education. Our community is served well by Bobby Murphy, Tom Smith, Willie Minna, Kathy Hood, Paul Cook, Danielle Ruskin, and Mary Ann Roney. They serve without pay and without benefit. They serve because they have a deep commitment to the students in our district. Members of Novi's Board of Education would state that serving is an honor and a privilege. It is also a lot of hard work. During January, I would encourage our community to thank the members of our Novi's Board of Education for their service. And we would like to continue your recognition with this official statement, resolution. Whereas Michigan is home to more than 600 boards of education that work to enrich the lives of Michigan students through education and directly influence instruction in Michigan's public schools. And whereas Article 8, Section 2 of the Michigan Constitution of 1963 states that providing for the education of Michigan's children is a fundamental duty of state government. And whereas local school board members are exceptional men and women who have committed themselves to this duty by governing school districts and advancing student achievement in the schools and communities in which they serve. And whereas during this month we join with the Michigan Association of School Boards, Michigan Department of Education, local school districts and community organizations to recognize and raise awareness of the countless efforts and contributions of local school boards and school board members throughout Michigan. Now therefore, we, the Novi Community School District, do hereby proclaim the month of January 2020 as Local School Board Month and honor the contribution of Novi Community School District school board members. Bobby Murphy, Board President, Tom Smith, Board Vice President, Willie Minna, Board Secretary, Kathy Hood, Board Treasurer, Paul Cook, Board Trustee, Danielle Ruskin, Board Trustee, and Mary Ann Roney, Board Trustee. Thank you for your service.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, well, this is an organizational meeting that we are required to have every year, and so there are certain things on our agenda. The next, which is the election of school board officers. We did this year do this a little differently. We had a meeting, a work session on December 19th to have a discussion about officer positions and the committees that are coming up, and a little bit about how we do that. And I think we have come to a good place of moving forward. So without further ado, I would like to nominate Danielle Ruskin for the office of president. Is there support?
Support.
It's been moved by Bobby Murphy and supported by Mr. Cook. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries 7-0. And for vice president, I would, I'm turning this over to you now, my dear.
Ceremonial
This is your official, so
Take
take
your
your
little name plaque with you because
to carry home.
You don't get a carrier.
The office comes with no reward.
congratulations.
You do get a gavel.
And a booster chair and small. It's always just a little bit awkward, but hi. Yikes. Thank you. Okay. It's strange to move seats. I have never sat in this area or that area, so now we're just shifting around here. So, thank you to,
I was going to make it easy for you the next one.
okay,
Let you just roll into this a little slow here.
thank you.
So
I
I'd like
appreciate
to
it.
nominate Tom Smith for vice president.
Support?
Nominated by Mr. Mena and supported by Ms. Murphy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries 6-0. 7-0. Yes. I didn't count myself. I'm sorry. I will.
With cookies works.
Right.
All right. And so next we have secretary.
I would like to nominate Trustee Hood as secretary.
No.
Or
No.
not Trustee Mena as secretary, I'm sorry.
I support.
Nominated, Trustee Mena has been nominated as secretary by Mr. Cook and supported by Mr. Smith. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
And I'll
Next.
nominate Trustee Hood to be our treasurer.
Okay.
Support.
Oh, we had a lot of supports going on.
You get to pick.
I'm writing it down.
Okay. So, Mr. Smith nominates Mrs. Hood as the treasurer and Mr. Mena supports. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed say nay. Motion carries 7-0. All right, moving on. We now are going to move on to the Code of Ethics. So each year, according to our board operating procedures, at our annual organizational meeting, which is the first meeting after January 1st, it is instructed that we read the Code of Ethics and sign. So before we talk about the signing, I will go ahead and read through the Code of Ethics. This is why y'all put me here, because it's going to make me read for the next 10 minutes. I'm going to pull this up. Novi Community School District Board of Education will follow high ethical standards, which have our students as their primary focus. Board members will promote the best interest of the school district as a whole and will adhere to the following ethical standards and principles. Number 1, board members will bring about desired changes through legal and ethical procedures, upholding and enforcing all laws, administrative rules and regulations, court orders pertaining to schools and school district policies and procedures. Number 2, board members will make decisions in terms of the educational welfare of all children in the school district, regardless of ability, race, creed, sex, sexual orientation, national origin, disability, or social standing. Number 3, board members will represent all school district constituents honestly and equally and refuse to surrender my responsibilities to any partisan principle, group, or interest. Number 4, board members will avoid any conflict of interest prohibited by law or appearance of such that could result from their position, and will not use their membership on the board for personal gain where contrary to the interest of the school district. Number 5, board members will recognize that individually they have no legal authority and that decisions can be made only by a majority vote at a public meeting of the board. Number 6, board members will take no private action that might compromise the Novi Community School District Board or administration and will respect the confidentiality of privileged information. Number 7, board members will abide by majority decisions of the board while retaining the right to seek changes in such decisions through ethical and constructive channels. Number 8, board members will encourage and respect the free expression of opinion by fellow board members and will participate in board discussions in an open, honest, and respectful manner, honoring differences of opinion or perspective. Number 9, board members will prepare for, attend, and actively participate in school board meetings. 10, board members will become sufficiently informed about and prepared to act on the specific issues before the board. Number 11, board members will respectfully listen to those who communicate with the board, seeking to understand their views while recognizing my responsibilities to represent the interest of the entire school community. Number 12, board members will strive for a positive working relationship with the superintendent, respecting the superintendent's authority to advise the board, implement board policy, and administer the school district. Number 13, the board members will model continuous learning and work to ensure good governance by taking advantage of leadership and professional development opportunities, including those sponsored by state and national school board associations, and encourage their fellow board members to do the same. Number 14, Board members will strive to focus on its primary work of supporting the district's vision, mission, goals through the allocation of resources and advocating for our students. Okay. So although the BOP does discuss reading the Code of Ethics and signing, from our previous board governance meeting, there was a lot of discussion about the signing. So I am going to recommend, well, we did read it according to the BOP, and that we refer the signature piece back to governance and policy committee to just have further discussion and decide if things have changed from years past or if this is something that needs to be removed from the BOP. So if we have
It's the signing of it.
the signing, of course, yes.
And then how often it needs read, perhaps, we need to discuss as well. So.
Yeah. Do we need to vote on that, or we're good? Okay. Next up, we have board committee appointments. So each year, the board president may identify board members, or board members may express an interest for committee appointments or representation as board liaisons, board committee opportunities. And those are to include the Novi Education Foundation liaison. We did not do a lot of changes this year, but I'm just going to read off who those people are. We had that organizational work session at our last meeting, after our last meeting. And so just so that the community is clear on, who's serving in these capacities. So our NEF liaison will remain Mr. Tom Smith. The Community Education ISD liaison will remain Mrs. Marianne Roney. We have standing committees. Even though it's not listed on here, Mrs. Hood serves as OCSBA Governmental Affairs Committee person representing our district. Standing committees, we have our Finance Committee. Mrs. Hood will chair that. Mrs. Murphy will sit on that along with Mrs. Roney. Board Governance and Policy Committee, that will be chaired by Mr. Mena. I will be sitting on that along with Mr. Cook. Legislative Committee, Mrs. Murphy.
Actually, I think Mr. Cook's going to chair the board governance.
Oh, yes. Yes. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah, he's already chairing it.
He's chairing the other one. So, Legislative Committee, Mrs. Murphy will be the new chair for that. Mrs. Hood and Mr. Smith will be seated on that committee with her. Capital Projects Committee, that's where you get to be the chair. Mr. Mena will be the chair, and Mr. Cook and myself will sit on that committee. And then the Curriculum Committee is Mrs. Roney is the chair. Mr. Mena and Mr. Smith will remain seated on that committee. This year, the Merit Pay Committee and the Superintendent Evaluation and Contract Committee will not be meeting regularly. They're an ad hoc committee, and they are available to meet as needed. Next up, we have the board meeting schedule for 2021. Dr. Matthews.
Thank you, Dr. Ruskin. Tentative 2021 Board of Education meeting schedule is presented tonight for review and discussion, with these meetings being held at the Educational Services Building. The tentative schedule includes proposed dates for board workshops. We would like to, there's a couple of calendars presented. We'd like for you to look at the alternative calendar as opposed to the first one that's listed there. The first one kept the kind of traditional dates of the first and third meetings of the month, but the first meeting would on that calendar would have been September 3rd, which is before school begins, and we thought it might be more appropriate to go with the alternative calendar, and so the alternative calendar is the one that we would like you to approve tonight. And you can see there's been a couple of adjustments. Typically we have a board workshop in September, but the workshop date is on September. The traditional workshop date would have been September 26th, which is our homecoming weekend, and so we didn't think that was appropriate, so we pushed that off into October. And then the January workshop date, instead of being the first Saturday after we return to school, is going to be the second Saturday to give the board president and be January 14th.
It's a Thursday.
It's Thursday, sorry. Yeah, Thursday. And then In April, we also aren't meeting the first and third Thursdays because spring break falls the first week, April 1st. And so we're pushing those back to the 8th and the 22nd with the workshop in between those two meetings. And then the June 10th or 17th, we're not sure when the career prep graduation will be, and so that will determine when that second meeting in June will take place. So we would propose the alternative calendar for you to approve this evening.
Can we have a motion to approve the alternative calendar? Mr. Cook?
I move that we approve the alternative calendar as presented.
Support.
Recommended by Mr. Cook and supported by Mrs. Murphy. Do we have any discussion on this?
I was looking to make sure that some of the big dates weren't conflicted with the schedule. Looks like you guys looked at that.
We did. We tried to.
And so I'll be happy to support.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries 7-0. All right, next up we have our consent agenda. Items B. Dr. Matthews?
Thank you, Dr. Ruskin. The consent agenda items are items to help organize the district bank depositories, designating the people authorized to sign checks, safe deposit box, which we do not have, determine the fee to charge individuals who request notice of the board meetings. We do not charge a fee. Designate administrator to assume the specified responsibilities of treasurer and or secretary. We currently designate the assistant superintendent of business and operations to assume the specified responsibilities of treasurer, and we currently designate the executive assistant to the superintendent to assume the specified responsibilities of recording secretary. We designate the electronic transfer officer, designate a law firm to represent the school board, and we use Troon Law and to represent district administration, and Lusk Albertson to represent the Board of Education. And then we designate a day, place, and time for regular meetings, and we have just approved the calendar. So these are consent items all packaged together, and the recommendation would be to support these consent items A through H.
Can I have a motion? Mr. Mena?
Oh, I move to approve consent items A through H as presented.
Support?
Support.
Motion by Mr. Mena and supported by Mr. Cook. Any questions? Mr. Mena?
Just one, I know this consent item. No changes on this, is this pretty much status quo from last year then?
Yes.
The only addition is, we did not, I think that we did not
Correct.
have the specified responsibilities of recording secretary in the past.
Miss Holly was not listed, so
So
we've
that's a
added
change.
that.
Did we also change has Lusk Albertson, they weren't
Yeah,
represented?
they represent
do all our
the
policy work,
policy.
I know.
That's kind of what that means.
Okay, gotcha.
Any further questions? All right, all those in favor of the recommendation, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Motion carries 7-0. And next, we have our report about FOIA, FERPA, and OMA.
On January 12, 2019, Lusk Albertson presented a report to the Novi Community School District Board of Education on the topics of Freedom of Information Act, FOIA, the Family Education Rights to Privacy Act, FERPA, and the Open Meetings Act, the OMA. We have provided you with their information, and we would encourage you to read that information to continue to be updated. There have been no significant changes to any of those laws or requirements in the past year, and so we present that information as required in our organizational meeting bylaws.
Great. And so since we don't have a recommendation on the table, and during our discussions, we discussed that if there are any updates, we will be providing updates to the board in the future throughout the year. So next we have our first opportunity for comments from the audience relating to agenda items. If anybody has any comments from the audience, please fill out a green card, give it to Mrs. Holly, and please step up to the podium. No one wants to talk to us? Okay, seeing none. We will move on to consent items. God bless you. Consent agenda A. Dr. Matthews?
Thank you. Consent items have previously been considered by the board and committee or at a prior meeting, or of such a routine nature that discussion is not required. Board members may request that any items be removed from consent items for further discussion if additional information is needed or available. The only consent item this evening is the approval of the minutes from the December 19th meeting.
Can I have a recommendation to approve?
I'll recommend that the Novi Community School Board of Education approve the consent item as presented.
Support?
Support.
Recommended by Mrs. Roney, supported by Mr. Cook. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Motion carries 7-0. Next on our agenda, we have action items. The first one is issuing of the bond resolution. Dr. Matthews?
Thank you, Dr. Ruskin, and I will turn to Ms. Minnick. We discussed this item on December 19th, but Ms. Minnick will remind the board what this is about, and we would ask that you would approve this resolution tonight so that we can prepare for our bond sale. Ms. Minnick.
Thank you, Dr. Matthews. The Novi Community School District voters approved the issuance of $185 million in bonds at the November 5th, 2019 election. For that, we are grateful. As discussed previously with the board, the district will sell the bonds in 3 series. The first series of bonds will be sold in late February 2020 in an amount not to exceed $75 million. The preliminary timeline and proposed resolution are attached in your board books, and the bond team is comprised of the following. The financial advisor for our district is PFM Financial Advisors. Bond counsel is Troon Law Firm. Bond underwriter is Stifel Nicholas and Company. And for the district, Dr. Steve Matthews and Jill Minnick. This report was presented to the board for information and discussion at its regular meeting held December 19th, 2019, and comes before the board tonight for approval.
Thank you, Ms. Minnick. Do we have a recommendation? Ms. Murphy?
There's a treasurer, go ahead.
Okay. I move that the Novi Community School District Board of Education, in the best interest of the Novi Community School District, adopt the attached resolution authorizing the issuance and delegating the sale of Novi Community School District 2020 school bond and site bonds. I'm sorry, school building and site bonds.
Do we have support? The recommendation was brought forth by Mrs. Hood and supported by Mrs. Murphy. Any discussion?
I would turn to Ms. Minnick just to kind of give a summary of what this resolution authorizes will happen in February.
Okay. This resolution authorizes the district to actually proceed with the sale of the bonds. And so what will happen over the course of the next month is we will have a credit rating call with Moody's so that we can obtain an underlying credit rating for selling our bonds. We will also have a series of meetings between now and the end of February, conference calls and the like, to work with the underwriter where they will begin to market the bonds to potential buyers and begin setting those prices. And then those prices will be reviewed by our financial advisor team who monitors bond sales 24/7. And come February, we will have a first reading of another board resolution on February 6th, and it will be brought for action on February 20 to approve the actual sale of the bond. And we will have a pricing call where we will approve the bond pricing, meaning the interest rates that will be stated on the bonds. And by March 3rd, we will close and have the $75 million in proceeds, give or take, whether they are sold at a premium or a discount, deposited in our district funds so that we may begin to, or be prepared to begin to sell invoices for or against action that for the work that we've begun to undertake with our professional services teams and so forth.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
So 2 votes on this. I'm guessing you're saying that today we're voting to approve the issuance of the bond, and then we have to come back and approve the sale of the bond?
The sale, yes.
Okay.
To authorize the sale of the bonds at the stated rate that was determined in the market.
Any other questions, concerns?
This is a really exciting opportunity for the district, as we begin to identify the projects for this summer, and this initial issuance, this first issuance will carry us through the next, until 2022, when we sell the next series of bonds. And so this really is the kind of the amount that will begin the development of the Meadows campus. And so we're really very excited about that.
Great. All right, if we are ready to vote, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Next up, we have the proposed purchase of the elementary gymnasium audio-visual systems. Dr. Matthews.
Thank you, Dr. Ruskin. And this was presented to the board on December 19th, and this is to replace and upgrade the 5 K4 elementary gymnasiums audio-visual or AV systems. And we have tonight with us Wanda Ciancio and our technology consultant from IDS. And I know the board had some questions in our last meeting, and so we might invite you to the podium so that you can kind of address to see if they have any additional questions or any other concerns. Since you're here this evening, we don't want this to be a wasted trip.
I had actually brought up the question about the cost of the engine.
Can we make a
We need to
motion?
make a motion first. Sorry,
Is that okay?
Mr. Meno. We make a motion?
I can make the motion if that's okay. I'll recommend the Novi Community School District Board of Education approve a replacement and upgrade of the 5 K4 elementary gymnasium audiovisual systems for $206,050.
Do we have support? And now we have discussion. Go ahead, Mr. Meno.
Continue. So I brought up the question about the actual cost of the projector. I'm assuming that the cost that you have here doesn't break out the installation on that?
Oh, no, yeah, the cost includes the installation, but
Okay.
yes, I don't have a breakdown
Okay.
on the labor versus material, but we can provide that if needed.
How does this differ typically if somebody were to go out today and buy a projector, the latest and greatest projector, let's say for a home theater system? Okay, how does this differ than something somebody would have in the home? Obviously, we need something a little bit more brighter because generally speaking, we can't get a gym or wherever we're going to put these as dark as let's say a basement or a theater room. But I'm just curious to find out how this differs from those type of systems.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so you kind of alluded to it. For like a home theater, you are able to control the light in the space. So being with the gymnasiums, you can't necessarily get it dark enough. You have a lot of windows, a lot of clear stories. So there's some extra brightness on it. It's like 10,000 lumens is the brightness on it, so that you can still see it in uncontrolled spaces. It's also it also brings up the I guess the size and the shape of the screen. So to be able to project on a screen large enough so that anybody sitting in the gymnasium is able to see it. It provides that for it, so it's got a special lens on it. Your current video systems in the gyms, there's, it might be a projector on a cart, but in most cases it's like a monitor that's on a cart. This is going to give a fixed installation, so it's going to be fixed on the wall at the back of the gymnasium. We'll have a protected cage on it to protect it from balls and stuff like that. So it's being able to get the image from the backside of the gym up to the screen up at the front. So, I'd probably compare it more towards more like a movie theater projector, just because of the spaces. This isn't as large as a movie theater, but it's to take care of a much larger group space, than what you would get in like a home theater or a classroom.
Thank you.
Do you have any other questions? No? Go ahead, Mr. Smith.
I was in a meeting literally today, and we were looking to hire a company to come out and help with AV for a presentation at the Green Gala, which is a fundraiser for the Novi Education Foundation. And the gentleman that we ended up hiring informed us that he no longer uses a projection system, but uses, I think the word he called it was a video screen, which he equated to being similar to the type of billboards that you see that are more of a backlit, or you program that stuff. Is that something that you look at but doesn't work because of the size? And Juan, I'm sure you looked at that stuff too.
It's probably not appropriate for the gym space, I would think. The projector's more appropriate in that space than something like that.
Yeah, those are good. The difference really in those is that when you use that screen, think of it as kind of similar to the screen that you have in the sign out in front of the high school.
Right.
So it's a bunch of individual dots. So the closer you sit to one of those, the more you're going to see the dots and the pixels on it.
Okay.
So if you were to put something like that in there, you'd have to get them where the dots are so small. And the cost to get a screen of that size with that type of a dot pitch resolution is what they call it, so small so that it blends. It's a much more economical solution to go with a projector on that.
Okay, and what do you think the typical lifespan of this equipment's going to be?
It should be like it's like a 10 to 12 year, because the difference on it too, this projector itself, most projectors you think about, they have a lamp or a bulb in them and it keeps burning out and you got to keep replacing it. This actually has a laser light engine in it. So there is no maintenance, you don't have to be swapping the bulbs out on it. And the life on it, 50 to 70,000 hours before it starts to dim. So
Thank you.
it'll get you more like a television, type of lifetime on it.
Not a question, just a comment that I know, the real cool thing here is that we're still using funds from the 2014 bond. We did such a good job, spending down that money and being real fiscally conservative with that we're able to still buy, I think, some of these last items that we have needs for out of that fund. So I think that's fantastic.
Set the bar kind of high for the next one, I think.
Yeah.
All righty.
Quick question.
Yes.
Is there a plan to go into Meadows with something like this? Because on their cart and the presentations that they have quite often with the bleachers full of parents are very hard to read. So I just wonder if there was any plans to expand this type of thing into the upper elementaries.
Absolutely, and we thought about doing them now, but it'll be 2 years until that building is occupied. And instead of spending the money now, it wouldn't be something we could probably reuse. So we decided to wait and do them, and then look again at high school and middle school, because they've been upgraded in the past since the elementaries were. So we'd be looking at them as a package.
Great, thank you. Any other questions or discussions? Okay. Thank you guys for being here to answer the questions and being available for the board. We appreciate it. Okay, so,
Motion and we have support.
yeah, so
for this, yeah.
we're ready to vote. So all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you.
Another toy for you to install, Wanda.
So this is our next opportunity for comments from the audience. If anybody would like to have any discussion with the board, please fill out a green card, give it to Sheila Holly, and approach the podium. Seeing none, we'll move on. So the superintendent's report, Dr. Matthews.
Thank you, Dr. Ruskin. My report will be brief this evening. I would like to thank Ms. Murphy for her service as board president. Served for 3 years, and we met twice a month for 3 years to review agendas and to prepare for meetings. And so I will miss that time with Ms. Murphy and the opportunity to talk to her about our public school system and the good things that we do here in Novi. But I do appreciate your willingness to serve and to help guide the district during the last 3 years. I would also just like to alert the board that I had my first book club with the varsity basketball and both girls and boys teams tonight, and we met together for the first time to kind of set the parameters and kind of guide the discussion. And the books really deal with themes of friendship and connection, and so we really talked today about the idea of how do we determine who our friends are, and how do we build those friendships, and how do we develop trust in each other. And the goal, obviously, is for them to enjoy reading the books first, but secondly, to help them understand that the more you connect with other people, the better you'll play as a team. And so we had a good discussion this evening, and that's my report today.
Question, are you guaranteeing a win?
I'm guaranteeing a win tomorrow.
That's the book club. That's it.
That's it.
If you win, I'm sure you'll be taking credit.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, wins, both of them.
Yes, yeah.
Wins.
Alrighty, thank you so much. We appreciate you and bringing that to our students and our athletics department. Administrative reports, we'll start with Ms. Minnick.
Thank you, President Ruskin. I just want to make you aware this evening that we conducted radon testing in all of our school buildings and support buildings throughout the district over winter break. We conduct this testing every other year for a period of 3 days while there is very little activity in the buildings, which is the most ideal condition for radon testing. The district's radon levels have never exceeded the EPA's action levels, and I'm pleased to report that once again, the test results for this testing cycle are no different. The test results revealed that radon levels are within safe levels as set by the EPA, and no remediation action is necessary.
Great.
We will continue to do this testing every other year as well.
You said in all the buildings, or?
Yes,
So,
every building.
imagine the cost on doing it. I mean, there's gotta be so many different locations where you've gotta put testing kits, right?
We do have, well, I have test results if you'd like to
Well,
see them. But I,
probably an offline conversation. I'm just curious, because I just had it done at my house too. There's it seems like every neighbor around me is putting in these radon mitigation systems, and it was really scaring me because wasn't something that was kind of required when I moved in my house in '95. Now all these new people are moving in and they're putting those in, so
it's
always
already,
good to know that we test.
right, and it is a radioactive gas that is a result of breakdown of uranium, I believe, and so conditions can change. So we want to do our due diligence and civic responsibility and do that testing every other year, regardless of whether the test results have always been good or not. So,
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you for your due diligence, keeping our children and our staff safe. Dr. Kinzer.
Thank you. I had the opportunity today to host some guests from a district I'm pretty familiar with, the Okemos Public Schools, who were interested in learning about STEM programming in our district. So we began our morning with Dr. Weber, who provided a great overview, and then we visited Novi Meadows to see our Edu robots, then to Orchard Hills to see our Curiosity Kits and Chibitronics, then to Novi High School to meet with Emily Polonsky to learn about medical sciences and HOSA, then the incubator, and we finished at Novi Public Library with the iCube. And they were incredibly impressed with the opportunities offered to all students in Novi. So, and I was impressed too. I learned a lot. It was a great day.
Thank you.
It's School Board Recognition Month, so we'll start with recognizing a few of you. So, Trustees Roney and Murphy, thank you for heading to Ann Arbor and touring Ann Arbor here on high school with our counselors, Elena Brown as well, I believe, to look at some IB career prep as well as what they're doing there. So your curiosity is greatly appreciated, and it's wonderful to work beside people who have that curiosity, just want to try to see what other people are doing, right? To not be so certain. On that same vein, Trustees Smith and Mena, I want to thank you too for being interested in wanting to see what's going on in our broadcasting areas at the high school, and really trying to think about how we can make that transition from how media was consumed perhaps 10, 15, 20 years ago to how it's going to be consumed. And I know that the two of you are very passionate about not only the performing arts but broadcasting and so on. So I really very grateful to have school board members who are genuinely interested in how we can better serve our kids. Being here for 10 years in this seat, I can also say that genuinely seeing a board function in the way I've seen it function in the past year has been absolutely wonderful. And whether it's committee groups or working in this large format, you should be proud of the way that I think you're representing our district and conducting yourselves at the meetings and publicly. It's noted by me, having been here for a while, and really deeply appreciate it. So much love and gratitude to each of you. Thanks for showing up. I know you guys get big old wads of cash for being here every other Thursday, but No, this is a passion project for each of you, and you each have your own expertise. You know, Paul Cook was the gentleman who showed me in my office the brush bot that got us thinking about the Curiosity Kit and this notion of how do we provide an equity of opportunity for people, right? And that is just, it's critically important to have board members that interact with administrators. And you never know where inspiration comes from, right? You never know the contacts and connections that we have and that we make. And never ever underestimate the smallest interactions with somebody by just being curious and wondering can lead to some pretty amazing things. So thank you for your service and what you do.
Thank you, Dr. Weber.
You got it.
Now we have an opportunity for board communication. If anyone from the board would like to have anything to share, please. Mrs. Hood?
Just a quick thing. So you mentioned earlier the Oakland Schools School Boards Association. I'm on the global. Wow.
I was like, did you change?
Yes, the Government Relations Committee. So we normally meet the second Wednesday. It was last night. It was canceled because the legislature is not, or is just now in session. So that was canceled. And then I wanted to say I signed up for the Oakland County School Boards Association, OCSBA, the dinner next Wednesday at the Technical Center in Clarkston, and the culinary arts students are preparing and serving dinner. So I'm looking forward to that. I don't know if anyone else signed up, but I will be going on Wednesday if anyone wants to ride along.
That's great.
Thank you.
Mrs. Murphy?
Sure. I just want to say thank you to the board for the last 3 years serving as president. It's been really challenging to me as a you know, especially when I first came on, and it's just been a delight to see how we've grown as a board and how we work together, and it's just been a pleasure to serve. I know we have a meeting coming up on Saturday with an opportunity to kind of discuss more new business, and so I just kind of want to put that out there, that there is an opportunity at our work session like we talked about. And then I just wondered about the enhancement millage that Oakland County is putting out. Is that something that we need to be discussing in the legislative group? I don't know where the discussion has been.
There is no formal proposal at this point.
Okay.
It's in the discussion stages, and so I'll provide a little more information tomorrow
Okay.
in the weekly update.
Okay, fantastic.
But it's a kind of a citizen group has kind of began to research it. The superintendent's group is also kind of examining it and trying to identify when would be the most appropriate time to present that to the voters of Oakland County. Wayne County has an enhancement millage. Macomb County is voting on an enhancement millage. And so in enhancement millage, you can ask the voters for up to 3 mills for over 10 years. And it can be anywhere between 0 and, well, not 0, but 0.1 and 3 mills. And so the conversation has just begun on that. And so I'll give some more information tomorrow.
Okay. I just keep seeing notices about it, and I just wasn't sure where we were at in terms of talking about it during the process.
There's really no official proposal to talk about it at this
Okay,
point.
okay, good to know.
Any other board communication?
Well,
Mr. Smith?
It's a big quarter for the Novi Education Foundation, and I just wanted to give you guys an update and all of you that it's my understanding that at our next board meeting on the 23rd, Dr. Matthews invited Jason Smith, who's the executive director of the Novi Education Foundation, to join us and provide an update for what they've got going on. I also serve as the vice chair for the Novi Youth Assistance, which I think you guys know. I don't think they do a great job as an organization really letting the public know some of the good work that they do. I found myself this afternoon in a meeting with Jason and the counselor, the caseworker from Novi Youth Assistance, Lisa Shields, showed up. And the three of us were together, and I had even forgotten about the different stuff that we do. But for example, there are many families in Novi that have need, And one of, I think, the most important trips that our kids can take are the 8th graders when they go to Washington, D.C. And that cost is around $842 a family, and that's more than what some families have. But the Novi Youth Assistance has partnered with the Novi Educational Foundation to provide dollars for those families that can't cover that cost. And I'm aware of 2 specific instances this week where families were notified that their kids were going to be able to go on this trip. And the rooms and meetings are full of tears, and it's really great that as a community we'll put our arms around some of these individual families. I also don't want to steal Jason's thunder. It's not private information any longer, and Dr. Weber can maybe add a morsel or two. But the Nova Education Foundation, even when I was president, every year would grow in its ability to raise money and its touch across students and teachers within the district, whether it was through scholarships or grants. And one of the grants that was approved through the Novi Education Foundation a couple of years ago was to put a garden at Parkview. And as I think you guys know, it went over with gangbusters, so much so that another grant was approved for a garden at Deerfield. Those gardens subsequently helped provide fresh vegetables and fruit for the Novi Feed the Need program, which RJ was over 5,000?
10,500 meals this summer.
Yeah, 10,000 meals, and a lot of it was provided by those gardens. Well, through some work that has been done in the district between one of our corporate partners, Bosch Corporation, we just found out that a grant was approved for a little over $59,000 to put gardens at the other 3 elementary buildings and build greenhouses at all 5 buildings.
Sweet, that's amazing.
It's huge. I mean, a typical grant for the NEF is $500, $1,500. So a $60,000 grant to put up greenhouses and gardens at all of our elementary buildings, which are actually run by our 2nd graders. The work that we're doing in the community is amazing. So Jason will talk a little bit more about that in a couple of weeks, but I just wanted to make you aware of some of the work that group's doing. So. And then March 7th, which is a Saturday, is the Bowl-a-thon, which is the main fundraiser for Novi Youth Assistance. It goes from 12 until 3 at Novi Bowl. And I bring this up not because I'm looking for necessarily sponsors or people to come and pay and buy a ticket and bowl, but we have lots of lanes and there's lots of space for anybody that wants to bowl. Maybe they don't have the ability to buy a ticket, but I guarantee you that we'll have lanes available. So if you know anyone or you know of a family or a team of 4 that would like to come and bowl on Saturday, March 7th, please, you can get in touch with me directly.
We actually used to have a board team.
Well, we could resurrect that. There we go.
Yeah, the Willie's in, okay.
The executive committee.
What about Steve Smashers?
That's 4 people.
We did do that. Yeah, okay.
And then
Yeah.
Saturday, March 21st. Saturday, March 21st is the Green Gala, which is the fundraiser for the Novi Educational Foundation. That'll be from about 6 p.m. until midnight at the Suburban Collection Showplace. It is with a heavy heart that this will be the first one that I'll miss in the last 7 years. But I'll encourage all of you to attend. It's a great event. The Killer Flamingos, again, will be the band. There will be casino games and silent and live auctions. And a new twist this year at the end where somebody in attendance will have the chance to win a trip to either Las Vegas or New York to visit Broadway. So it's going to be some exciting times.
Fantastic.
Sounds great. Thanks for all of your service. And if there's anything that we can collaborate with the Novi Youth Association, we appreciate.
You're welcome to join me. I'll be scuba diving on the island of Roatan in Honduras.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Stepping out of my zone a little bit, right?
Sounds good. And we won't tell Jason that you stole his thunder. He's probably watching tonight, but besides that.
With the millions of others.
Yes. Anybody else? No? Seeing no other communication, I'd like to say a few things. I just want to thank our student for sitting through our meeting. We appreciate it, and we hope that you gathered some good information about what's going on around in the district, and we really love to have our students with us and be a part of our group. So they all don't stay, I have to tell you, but we do love having you here, and we hope that you heard some really good information about what is happening here in the
Yeah, like
district.
for sure. Like, thank you so much. Just like listening in, it really like opened my eyes up to like see like how much is going on behind the scenes and like to see what makes our school run so smoothly. At least that's how we see it. And
That's great
and,
to hear.
Yeah, it's very cool to hear about the Novi Youth Assistants, and I think that's definitely something that should be publicized more because that's something that I've never heard of, and I can almost assure you that my friends or my peers have never heard of, and that's something that's very cool, and I think that's something. Yeah.
Thank you.
You could come bowl.
You can get your bowl.
Get a
I'm not a
t-shirt.
good bowler.
You can get bumpers there.
Yes, yes. I also want to thank Mrs. Murphy for all of your support and your leadership over the last 3 years and your mentorship to me and other board members. And I appreciate you. So I have big shoes to fill, and I'm honored and humbled to serve this board in this capacity with all of my fellow trustees because I appreciate everyone's perspective and enjoy listening to all of your ideas. So I'm looking forward to a great year. Hearing no other board communication, I will ask for a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Support.
So fast, I don't know about that
Get your
fast,
first minute,
Mr.
you're setting a
Cook.
precedent for less than an hour.
Less than an hour.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, silence, we're adjourned.
You.